Swarup, it's maybe finished.
Finished?
Yes, I think. If not mistaken.
It's written in the class.
I have 92 given to me today.
Okay. And then repeat.
Really?
No, I don't remember, but like every class is different. So even if it's the same verse.
Yeah, I prepared for this, so it's
No
okay.
problem.
Yes.
But I don't remember
Okay.
it.
Prabhu samarpila chandra swarupera hate.
Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila chandra swarupera hate.
Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila tandre swarupera hate.
Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate. Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate. Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate. Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate. Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila tande swarupera hate.
Prabhu samarpila tandre swarupera hate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu ragupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila tande swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila tandre swarupera hate.
Gupta seva kaila swarupera sate.
Prabhu ragupta seva swarupera sate.
Prabhu samarpila tare swarupera hate.
Prabhu samarpila tandre swarupera hate. Prabhu ragupta seva swarupera sate. Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Samarpila, handed over, Tanre, him, Swarupera, Swarup Damodar, Hate, to the hand, Prabhura, of the Lord, Gupta Seva, confidential service, Kaila, did, Swarupera, Swarup Damodar, Sathe, with. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. When Raghunath Das Goswami approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, the Lord entrusted him to the care of Swarup Damodar, his secretary. Thus they both engaged in the confidential service of the Lord. Purport. This confidential service was the personal care of the Lord. Swarup Damodar, acting as his secretary, attended to the Lord's baths, meals, rest and massages, and Raghunath Das Goswami assisted him. In effect, Raghunath Das Goswami acted as the assistant secretary of the Lord. Translation again. When Raghunath Das Goswami approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, the Lord entrusted him to the care of Swarup Damodar, his secretary. Thus they both engaged in the confidential service of the Lord. Gupta Seva. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manho Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahamahyam Dadatmi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamshram He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvanto Raditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Vashi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume Madeka Bandho Mad Sangin Mad Kuro Mad Mahadhana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Anandaya Namostute Asadu Sadhu Todain Atini Chochatakara Hana Muncha Kadachin Mam Premna Hel Kantayospura. So, in the session today, I mean, if you have dealt with it before, so we'll not get into the details of who these personalities are. Rather, okay, so who was Raghunath Das Goswami from the spiritual world? Anyone remembers? No? Okay, who was Swarup Damodar from the spiritual world? Okay, we need to do the session. Yes, correct. Lalita Saki, yeah. And was Raghunath Das Goswami was Rati Manjari from the spiritual world. So, of course, they are the most confidential associates of the Lord. So, this Chaitanya Charitamrita is like a replica of how the spiritual world is in itself. So, the dealings, the attributes, here we talk about the Gupta Seva. So all of these services as an aspect is an expansion of the spiritual world. And each of these personalities that are mentioned here in this particular chapter exemplify that particular mood in the service we're supposed to be following, we're supposed to be imbibing within ourselves. So, we'll not get into the details of Raghunath Das Goswami, where he came from, and same with Swarup Damodar, which you would have already heard. So we will get into a particular pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami in the session today. And if we do have the time, we'll also look at a pastime from Swarup Damodar. So Raghunath Das Goswami, anyone remembers any key characteristics of him? Like who was he, or what was his
landlord?
Landlord, yes. So he was a very rich man. Okay, anyone else? Any other? Who was Raghunath Das Goswami? Oh, one of the 6 Goswamis, at least this one. So in the photo we worship on our altars, he's one of the 6 Goswamis that we have. So much so that we will see in the session today of how he is very similar to Rupa and Sanatana as well, specifically Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. And one thing that so every Goswami has one quality that they show or teach us. And Raghunath Das Goswami teaches us. Yeah. Yes, perfect. He teaches us renunciation. Why renunciation? We will try and understand. Of course, because he was rich. That's and he renounced. But his wealth was not a minor wealth that we are talking about. So, I'll read some of the text. For this is from the Ante Leela, chapter 5. When Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instructions by his causeless mercy. Instead of becoming a so-called renunciate, Raghunath Das, following the instructions of the Lord, returned home and played exactly like a pounds and shillings man. Raghunath Das was inwardly completely renounced, even in family life, but he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. Seeing this, his father and mother were satisfied. So here in Prabhupada uses a very pounds and shillings. So when I was reading this verse in Telugu, I was wondering, I'm like, where in the Bangla the text can be pounds and shillings, but Prabhupada adds a very a good translation attempt in the words that we can immediately link to what the message of the verse was, because in the actual Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, there is no such usage of pounds and shillings, but Prabhupada, for our dumb heads, Prabhupada explains it in a very nice manner so that we can understand. So pounds and shillings is a very British usage of a person who of a person who is very much like a gentleman in his dealings with the world. So this is exactly what Prabhupada explains is the real meaning of renunciation. So in the Gita, there's a famous line in one of the purports where Prabhupada explains that renunciation is not the means of purification. Rather, it is the result of purification. So usually we see that most of the so-called spiritualists in the world, they generally artificially try to be renunciate. Like there's this famous painting of what's this personality from Bengal who has a painting where there is money, there is some food, and there is some coins that are being offered, and he's saying no to it. One of the famous personalities. He was he's very much followed in Bengal. No, not Sai Baba. In Bengal, he's particular.
From which?
Swami Vivekananda. Yeah, so he has a famous painting, and Prabhupada saw this painting, and Prabhupada was like, they should do a painting of me. Prabhupada said that with counting all the cash that he's showing away, all the coins and the cash. Prabhupada said that's fake renunciation, or in Sanskrit we use Falgu Vairagya. Falgu means fake or not the right renunciation, because Prabhupada said that he doesn't know how to utilize the Lakshmi, the coins, the all the different opulences, as we can call it, in Krishna's service. So Prabhupada knew how to be able to do this. So that's the same over here with Raghunath Das Goswami as well. So here, Mahaprabhu himself told him that you go back and you live like a normal pounds and shillings man and set a good example so that the whole world can follow. And eventually, his parents also can be, in many of the instances in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Raghunath Das Goswami, whenever he has to meet any of, like for example, he goes to meet Nityananda. Where did he go to meet? I think it was at Panihati. So if you remember the story of Panihati, so when Raghunath Das Goswami went to meet Nityananda in Panihati, at that time his parents sent 10 men along with him so that he doesn't escape and run away. So that was how much money the family had also. That's another story. But that's how much he was a renunciate. So there's this verse in the Madhya Leela which says, I'll read the translation. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs. But within her heart, she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. I'll repeat. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs. But within her heart, she's always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. So this is exactly how we should be. I mean, of course, not in material terms where we have another, we're thinking of another woman or a man kind of a thing. But it's like, so one of the important aspects here is she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs. So generally, if we want to hide something, we will ensure we're doing the job really well so that no one doubts us. So that's one of the, if you want to catch someone doing a fraud or doing, anything which is wrong, he will try to do it perfectly well, that it never goes wrong. So if there are no mistakes at all, there is something wrong. And same with our devotional lives also. If we don't commit mistakes, if we don't, let's hope we don't, but if we don't have even the minor fall downs, major fall downs, anything of those sort, then that means we have never really picked up the path on a proper way. We're just trying to be a false renunciate, because each of us are on that journey of spiritual purification, or ultimately going back home, back to Godhead. So we generally tend to commit mistakes because that's the normal journey that goes through. So if we don't, then there is something wrong. That's exactly what this verse also says. So that's our attachment to the Lord. We should be so attached to the Lord that we do our worldly affairs in such a way that nobody doubts us, nobody questions us. So each of our activities, whether it's doing our jobs, whether it's doing any of the services that are allocated to us, anything that we might think is not directly related to devotional service, we have to do it perfectly well so that nobody complains. And specifically, this was the same mood with the gopis as well in Vrindavan. So they all had husbands, or they all had families to take care of, and they would perform their household activities, but at the same time they were always thinking about Krishna, always in the mood of how they should please Krishna in some way or the other. So Raghunath Das Goswami was exactly in the same way. So, and he was actually from a very rich person. He was from a very, very rich man. It is said that his father and uncle, their names were Govardhan and Hiranya. They used to collect 2 million coins from different collections that they were assigned to by the government. And from that, they would give 1.2 million to the government. The taxes even at that time were so high, 1.2 million was given to the government. And they would keep 800,000 with them. But you can imagine how valuable these coins are. It is said that one coin would be able to purchase 600 kgs of rice. So they had 800,000 coins that they used to collect. This was their annual salary. So they had a lot of opulence, and it is described that their opulence was even in comparison to Indra. And even his wife, even her name, Indra's wife's name was Sachi. So it's described that Raghunath Das Goswami's wife was as beautiful as Indra's wife. So yeah, it's still after that. He was a renunciate, and he would try to run away all the time. So one of his dealings that Prabhupada particularly describes in Antya Leela, we will see, is how he is a perfect gentleman in his dealings. So once there was a Muslim man who kind of realized that they were collecting so many coins and so much of money, and because he was collecting 1.2 million. So according to his calculation, they were supposed to be giving 1.5 million to the government and not 1.2. The tax rate was super high. So this Muslim Turk somehow came to know, and he came to arrest his uncle and his father. And somehow it is described that both of them were not available, or they were not in the house. And this particular Muslim man somehow arrested Raghunath Das Goswami and put him in the jail because of the extra money that his father and uncle were collecting. And then Raghunath Das Goswami described that in a very diplomatic manner, tried to explain to the Muslim clerk. He said, sometimes brothers fight amongst themselves, and sometimes they have very friendly dealings. There is no certainty when such changes will take place. Therefore, I am sure that although today you are fighting, tomorrow you three brothers will be sitting together in peace. Just as I am my father's son, I am also yours. I am your dependent and your maintainer. For a maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not good. You are expert in all scriptures. Indeed, you are a living saint. So he started to praise the Muslim man. It's like, don't arrest me. I've done nothing wrong. And somehow he convinced the person. Many times you see, like, if you want to have something done. So if you see many of the politicians or diplomatic leaders, when they arrive in a country, there are always children that are put forward first to give them a bouquet of flowers, or to, I don't know, to welcome them in some way or the other. Because whenever you look at innocent children, there can be no grudges, there can be nothing that can go wrong. So in any diplomatic arrangement, there is always children that are used. And of course, many times women are also, I wouldn't say used, but women have the ability to be able to use pleasing words to be able to convince any situation. So these are two people that are always put in the front when you have any diplomatic dealings that are need to be done, because with their nice flowery words they will be able to convince everyone, especially in terms of diplomacy. So Raghunath Das Goswami is described as expert in these dealings. At the same time, he liked Shri Radha Parisisvara Mandir. But at the same time, his mind or his heart was always hankering for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one of the things is we learn from his renunciation, but the other thing we learn from Raghunath Das Goswami is his determination to see Krishna. So we will see later on how he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But at the same time, every time he found an opportunity, he would run away. So I described this almost became a daily affair. Raghunath would run away from home and his father would again bring him back. Then Raghunath Das's mother spoke to his father as follows: "Our son has become mad. Putra Batula Haila." It's in the Bengali translation. Ehaya Rakhana Bandiya. That means just keep him by binding him with ropes. So she's saying that Rakhaya Bandiya, that means you bind him with that ropes that comes in. Tandra Pita Kahe Tahe Nirya Tandra. It says that his father kind of became very unhappy hearing this, that how can you tie a son with ropes and just keep him somehow bound. But that's exactly that is. So these ropes are actually the same ropes that bind us into the material world as well. So in our scriptures we see different type of parents in different stories. Sometimes we see that the parents are exalted devotees and the children are not. And here we see that the children are exalted devotees, similar to Prahlad Maharaj as well, and the parents are not. So here also the parents were not interested in him going and meeting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and picking up devotional service. So they even came to such a thing, so they wanted to bind him with ropes and with sticks so that he remains in the house. Raghunath Das, our son, has opulences like Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as an angel. Yet all this could not tie his mind down. Indra Sama Aishwarya. Indra exactly the same, he has the same Aishwarya. Stri Apsara, so his wife is described as an Apsara. And still, Nari Leka Yandra Mana, that means still somehow they're not able to put his mind down. So the same mood is also there, we can see. Okay, so then his father replies, "How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It is not possible even for one's own father to nullify the reactions of one's past activities." So it's the mind that is an important factor. So if we attract our mind towards Krishna, then none of the material activities we will have some hankering for it. It's the same thing with Kunti also prays in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, where he says, "Tvayamiranya Vishaya Mate Madhupate Sakrit Ratim Udvahat Adha Gange Mudanvati." So it says, "O Lord of Mandu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn onto you without being diverted to anyone else." So this is Queen Kunti was praying, that Ganga, just like how Ganga flows without any hindrance. And we see, especially in Mayapur, the last part of where the Ganges goes into Bangladesh after that. So that Ganges is very powerful. It's the currents are huge. So just as how the Ganges flows without any hindrance, there's no way you can try and stop the Ganges flow. In the same way, we should have that attraction towards the Lord. And this is the same attraction which Raghunath Das Goswami says. So, Prabodhananda Saraswati, he gives this example that if we want to test how much attraction we have in this manner for the Lord, we should check with one way. That if we want to go to Vrindavan, what do we say? So generally we think and we plan it out in Vrindavan. Okay, maybe during Kartik, I'm going to go to Vrindavan. So, we purchase our tickets accordingly. We plan for a leave and, we collect our finances. But Prabodhananda Saraswati says that's not the right mood to go to Vrindavan. If we are planning to go to Vrindavan, that means we don't have the right attachment to the Lord. If we want to go to Vrindavan, we have to go right now. That's Prabodhananda Saraswati says, that if we will wait for us to go, that means we don't have the right mood. So if we have that attachment to the Lord, that I want to go to Vrindavan and it has to be right now, and we will just go to the airport, I don't know, some way or the other, force ourselves on a flight, maybe get onto a cargo box, and some way or the other we can reach. So that should be the right mood. And of course, I don't know if we have such a right determination, but this is the test which Prabodhananda Saraswati says, that if we want to test ourselves of going back home to meet Krishna, to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then this should be our mood. That I want to go right now. I do not want to wait. And he also gives the example that if someone is giving us €1 million or $1 million, let's assume, we get a notification saying in Croatia, someone at this particular place is going to give you €1 million, but you have to go right away. You're not going to stop, right? We will immediately just, take a Flixbus, take a flight, take whatever it is, reach Croatia right away so that we can get that €1 million because we know we're going to get it right now. And that's the same thing. If we know we're going to get bhakti from Krishna and we have to have that attachment to Krishna, then it has to be now. So someday we have to imbibe by this mood that if we want to meet the Lord, it has to be done now. We have to go right away. Of course, we have to plan our situations in such a way. But Raghunath Das Goswami was like this, because every day he would run away. Every day when he would chant, when he would hear, when he would read pastimes, he would be attracted to the Lord. And what would he do as a next step? He would run away from his house. Every day. So, Chaitanya Chandrera Kripa Hanache Inhara, Chaitanya Chandrera Batulale Rakhita Pare. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep home such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra? So here he is referred to as a madman, because such a person is actually a madman. He has all the luxuries at home, he has a good wife at home, but no, he wants to run away from Mahaprabhu. But Raghunath Das Goswami doesn't straight away go to meet Mahaprabhu. He goes to meet Nityananda first, because Nityananda, of course, is a manifestation of a spiritual master. So where does he go to meet Nityananda? He goes to meet him in Panihati. And the famous Panihati Chira Dahi festival was actually because of Raghunath Das Goswami wanting to meet Nityananda. So, you are just like a thief, for instead of coming near, you stay away at a distant place. Now that I have captured you, I shall punish you. This is Nityananda telling Raghunath Das Goswami as soon as he met him. Make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chipped rice. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. Raghunath Das immediately sent his own men to the village to purchase all kinds of eatables and bring them back. So, why did Nityananda call Raghunath Das a thief at this particular situation?
Because he wants to get
Chaitanya without the mercy of Nityananda.
Okay, yes, that is a possibility. That's a good purport. One thing nice about the scriptures is that you can have one line and you can take out many purports out of it. So this is one. Yes. Anyone? Why would Nityananda call Raghunath Das Goswami a thief? Okay, so Prabhupada explains in the purport that any person who has a lot of money but doesn't utilize it for Krishna's service is a thief in the eyes of the Lord. And that's why Nityananda called him a thief, because he had so much money but he was not utilizing it for Krishna's service. His family they were literally millionaires or maybe billionaires by coins perspective, but they were not utilizing. And therefore, what did Nityananda do? Nityananda immediately told him that make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chipped rice. So, the best way to engage your money is to use it in the service of the devotees, and of course, to give out prasadam. That's the best service what one can do. Because wealth ultimately belongs to Krishna. So Nityananda showed him that if you really want to utilize your money, you have to use it in Krishna's service. Otherwise, you're simply a thief. And this is why Nityananda called him a thief in that perspective, but also the other one will also be applicable. So, unless we utilize all our assets and our wealth, we will still always remain a thief. So, Raghunath Das Goswami went to Nityananda because Nityananda represents the spiritual master, a guru. Only by the mercy of the guru and only by the mercy of the devotees will be able to get the Lord. And that's why Raghunath Das Goswami was being taught this another example that if you want to see the Lord straight away, it is not possible. You have to go through this particular service. So Raghunath, and the funny part is the same 10 men who his father sent to keep him protected so that he doesn't run away. So when he went to meet Nityananda, so these same 10 men were right behind him also, who were supposed to keep him. So what happened was Raghunath Das Goswami went to his parents and he said that he wants to go meet Nityananda. And Raghunath Das Goswami's parents, they said, okay, you can go, but these 10 men will come with you so that they bring you back in case you don't come back. And Raghunath Das Goswami engaged these same 10 men to go and buy the yogurt, the chipped rice from the market. So it's like they were supposed to protect him, but all of them were being used in Krishna's service. Okay. So Raghunath Das went there and worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Through Raghava Pandit, he submitted his desire. I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every time I try to go away and give up my home relations, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. So like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I have tried my best many times and I have never been successful. One of the nice examples that they give in these verses is how the analogies and the examples. So it says, Vamana Hana Yena Chanda. That means Vamana. Vamana is like we know the Vamana, the dwarf incarnation of the Lord. Like it's saying how Vamana Hana Yena Chanda, or the Chandrama, or the moon that he wanted to capture. Like a dwarf wants to touch the moon. In the same way, I am trying to get the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is Raghunath Das Goswami saying this. So imagine if he's saying he's a dwarf in trying to touch the moon, what is our position? Maybe an amoeba trying to touch the moon, I don't know. We're so small in attaining the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No one can attain the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. But if you are merciful, even the lowest man can attain shelter at his lotus feet. This is Raghunath Das Goswami praying to Nityananda. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nevertheless request you, Sir, to be especially merciful towards me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Placing your feet on my head and give me the benediction that I may achieve the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without difficulty. I pray for this benediction. So there are two nice points that Raghunath Das Goswami mentions in his prayer to Nityananda. One thing is he calls him Sir, which I really liked. Of course, there is no direct translation from the Bengali verse, but Prabhupada says he said Sir, so he said Sir, Mushu. And at the same time, he prays for a benediction that please place your feet on my head so that I achieve the mercy. This is something that I don't know, like at least for me, I have never personally asked. It's a nice benediction to ask from your spiritual master. We generally go down and if we are fortunate, we get to touch the feet of our spiritual master. But it will be even more of a fortune if our spiritual master can place his legs on our, there was a funny instance which happened in Dubai when my spiritual master came to visit. I saw his shoes. I thought those were his shoes. So I picked up his shoes and I touched his shoes on my head, saying that I get his dust on my head, and I placed the shoes back. And right after an instance, his servant came in, he wore the shoes and he went out. So I did the wrong shoes on my head. So, I mean, this can be one instance where we try to put shoes on our head. But the real mercy will be when we get the feet of the spiritual master on our head. Yeah. Of course, it was still a devotee whose dust came on my feet, so it's okay on my head. So, but I got the wrong shoe. But this should be our prayer that next time we do Pad Puja of a spiritual master, we should place our head down and ask our spiritual master to put his feet on top of our head. Of course, we should ensure our head is clean. Okay, so after hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda Prabhu smiled and told all the devotees, Raghunath Das's standard and material happiness is equal to that of Indra, the king of heaven. Because of the mercy bestowed upon him by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. Therefore, let every one of you be merciful towards him and give him the benediction that he may very soon attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here, Nityananda is not just giving him blessings and benedictions, but Nityananda is actually asking all the devotees there to bless him so that he can attain the shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's one of the things, even during initiation ceremonies, we go around collecting diksha or collecting money from after initiation. But it's not just to collect diksha, but it's to get the blessings of all the devotees. And to be honest, after initiation, we don't do this much to go around asking for blessings from each and every devotee present. But this should be our mood as such, because by example of Nityananda and Raghunath Das Goswami, we can see that we need the blessings of all the devotees to be able to attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna does not value even the standard of happiness available in Brahmaloka, the topmost planet. What to speak of heavenly happiness? Here Nityananda is saying. So, Raghunath Das Goswami had so much money, but he had no attachment towards it. And therefore, so much so that Nityananda is praising him in itself. So many times we see, Prabhupada also sometimes used to laugh that those who are renouncing are the ones who have nothing. Many times Prabhupada used to face devotees and situations where people who had nothing would come and be like, I have renounced the full world and I have come. And then you look at their bank balance, like they have nothing to renounce anyway, they had zero money. And in such a situation, when they actually get something, then they become attached to it and they go back into it. So that's why real renunciation actually comes when we have a lot to renounce. Of course, we should renounce at any particular moment. We should at least try in some way or the other. So this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. While in the prime of life, the great Maharaj Bharat gave up everything because he was fond of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uttama Shloka. He gave up his beautiful wife, nice children, great friends, and an enormous empire. Although these things were very difficult to give up, Maharaj Bharat was so exalted that he gave them up just as one gives up stool after evacuating. Such is the greatness of His Majesty. So here is the relation that is done with Raghunath Das Goswami with Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj actually gave everything up, just as how one would give up stool in a toilet. So when we are passing stool, we don't keep the stool for long. we immediately flush it down. So spiritual happiness should be in such a way that we give up all our material opulences at once. Of course, here it goes through different stages. First, Nityananda taught him to utilize the money in Krishna's service, because we just should not give up the money without I'm not sure who the disciple was, but one of the disciples was working during when he came to meet Prabhupada, and he asked Prabhupada, like, should I give up my job so that I can join the temple? And Prabhupada asked him, how much are you earning? I'm not sure what the figure was, but it was a few $1,000s at that particular point. And Prabhupada said, no, go back to earning. You give us that money that you're earning. We need the money for our temple. So that should be our first step. But ultimately, our desire should be that we become this renunciate. The Lord Nityananda Prabhu called Raghunath Das near him and placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head and began to speak. My dear Raghunath Das, he said, since you arranged the feast on the bank of the Ganges, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy. Lord Sri Chaitanya's Mahaprabhu, Gaura Hari, came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. So again, just by placing the lotus feet of Nityananda on his feet, all his impediments. You can imagine, like, Raghunath Das Goswami was already so exalted. He is already so renunciate. Still, Nityananda told him that he had impediments in his heart, which he had to give up. And that's why he had to do this particular service. I mean, the same thing was even with Narad Muni. So when Narad Muni, so if you know, like, he had only one attachment in his life. That was his mother. So when his mother and Narad Muni used to live in those ashrams or shelters where the munis used to pass by, and his mother used to serve those munis. And then she was bitten by a snake, if you remember the first canto, and she passed away. And that's when Narad Muni left and went into the forest and he started meditating. And during his meditation, Krishna comes to him and tells him that in his heart that you still have material attachment or you still have material hankering, and therefore you cannot see the Lord. So imagine being in such a situation of Narad Muni, like he lost his only attachment, that's the mother. He has no money, he's sitting in a forest, he's meditating, he literally has nothing with him. No one, no friends, no family, no one, nothing, no money. And still the Lord is telling him that you have attachments. You are not purified enough to be able to see. And the same thing even Raghunath Das Goswami as well. He was so renunciate. Still Nityananda is telling him that now you have to be purified. So imagine our position over here. And these situations were asked to Srila Prabhupada many times, that how is it that we are ever going to go back to the spiritual world? Because Prabhupada said that if we want to go to the spiritual world, we have to be 100% purified, like these personalities. How is that possible? Like, we're so fallen, it's not possible for us to do that. So I think the famous pastime where Prabhupada was on the stage, and when he said this, the devotees were very sad when they heard this, that how is it that we can go back to the spiritual world? So then Prabhupada had his chadar, he comes down the staircase of the podium, and then I think he comes down to maybe 70 or 60%, maybe 80 first.
78.
Yeah, 78. Oh, okay. So yeah, he says you can be this much percent purified, and you can go back home, back to Godhead. Nobody was happy, you know. Even that's a very high number to achieve. Many times, you know, when we are in schools or preparing for exams, at least I used to do this, you know. I used to calculate how many chapters I need to study to just pass the exam. You know? Like many a times we know the subject is so tough that it'd be difficult to achieve a high score. Therefore, you start planning from the start. So it's the same thing with Krishna's going back to the spiritual world. So we start thinking, what's the minimum score we need, you know? So the same with the devotees. So Prabhupada came down, I think he came down, he started giving a few smaller figures. I think came down to 50. I think he even came down to 30, if I'm not mistaken. No? Okay, 50. Whatever, Prabhupada gave some number. And ultimately Prabhupada said, just forget all these numbers, just hold on to my dhoti and I'll take you back to the spiritual world. And of course Prabhupada also said many times that he has the backdoor key to the spiritual world, because it's described that when we want to go back to the spiritual world, at the last moment of our life, let's assume we say Krishna's name and we become eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. The soul passes through all these different disciples or the different levels in the universe. Then it goes through the different coverings of the universe. And then it goes through the whole journey, which is also described by Gopakumar and his descriptions. Bhagavatam. So that whole journey is described. So actually each of us, if we go back to the spiritual world, have to cross through that journey to be able to go back home. And it is said that even once, if we have the attachment for any of the things we are seeing, we come back again into the material world again. Even once. Like it's described that some of the coverings are like filled with opulences, with diamonds. One of them is even said that has a lot of women in there and so many opulences are there. Even once we get attracted and we are back again in the material world. So it's so difficult to go back to the spiritual world. But that's why Prabhupada is there. He has the backdoor key for us. But of course, we should aim to become like Raghunath Das Goswami. So we should all, this is the power of blessings. We should all aim to get these blessings so that we become purified. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary Swarup Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of this, return to your home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Nityananda had Raghunath Das blessed by all the devotees, and Raghunath Das offered his respect to their lotus feet. We cannot get anything without blessings. So this blessings is the most important teaching we can get from Raghunath Das Goswami. So his whole life, his whole service was only possible because of these blessings. So whenever we get the opportunity, we should try and get blessings from the devotees. And of course, the best way to get blessings from devotees is to be able to give them prasadam or to do any kind of service. Many times we see like in birthday celebrations, we make children the kings and the queens of the day. Throw a nice birthday party. They give them so much attention where they're cutting the cake and everyone's surrounding them, singing for them. But to be honest, it should actually be the opposite. The child should be engaged in taking blessings from each and every devotee during such special days by serving them, not just going around. So it's the complete opposite of what the material realm teaches us. Because in the material world, we are taught that we should be the lords, we should learn to be respected, we should learn to be, everyone wants to be God ultimately, right, in terms of the respect. But in spirituality, it's the complete opposite, where we want to become the servant of the Lord. So let's all pray that we imbibe by this mood of Krishnadas Kavira by Raghunath Das Goswami, and we get those blessings, because the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita that describes this particular pastime is also written in the same mood. Because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also did not write it until he got blessings from Madan Mohan, from different devotees in itself. So yes, please pray for me as well, that I can get blessings to be able to speak sometime, to do service as much as I can. That's about the session. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to share? So there's a lot of Swarup Damodars. I didn't even touch Swarup Damodar, but there are many verses that are coming up after this which are describing Swarup Damodar, so I left that because there's so much to describe about him also. So you will hear about him in the future classes, maybe not today. So, no questions? We will... Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the class. In the beginning you mentioned something about renunciation is the means for purification. And I can't remember how was it exactly. Can you mention?
It's not the process.
I'll read it, yes. So, yeah, so
It's not the process but the result.
yes, correct. So Prabhupada says renunciation is not the means of purification, it is the result of purification. So that means we don't artificially do it earlier. It's like a byproduct. It's like, so it's like when we start chanting the holy name of the Lord. So generally we, when a new devotee comes into it, we don't tell them to start renouncing right away, like give up on meat, give up on this, give up on that. We first tell them to chant Hare Krishna, because when they start chanting, when you have something good, automatically the bad stuff goes away. So that's the same thing. It's like we don't artificially try to renounce first. First we add ourselves with so much of devotion and so much of faith and so much of purification that it comes as an automatic process, the renunciation, and should not be something that we should artificially try to imitate. Many times, it's also said that Falgu Vairagya, that means false renunciation, is actually detrimental to our spiritual service also. Like there's an example that is given that for example, if one is performing Nirjala fast on an Ekadashi maybe, or any festival, like say Janmashtami for example, like I am performing Nirjala fast, I have renounced food or Prasharam for that day. And then what happens is, and then there is let's assume there is a service that is given to you or us, and we are serving out Prasharam. And we're doing it, oh look at this fallen soul, he's eating on Janmashtami, I am fasting, I am such an exalted person. And therefore, that is described as an example of Falgu renunciation, that we falsely say I'm doing this, and at the same time we demean others who are not being fasting or not, could be due to 100 other reasons. But if we have this mood, therefore fasting is not correct, or there's no result of our fasting in itself. So sorry.
There are opposite results.
yeah, that's true. You might not get the benediction at all. So we should be careful that we don't artificially renounce ourselves. It doesn't mean we don't fast if we can. Fasting is we should if we can, but again, the main thing is not the fasting, it's the mood, it's the renunciation, it's the devotion that we have. So yeah, that is the thing. It's the end result, or it's the byproduct that you get after devotional service. Yes, ma'am.
I really like how you lecture, but I was listening to lecture Radhanath Maharaj, and he was also describing this point. Sometimes we do a lot of austerities because this makes us proud. Yeah, I'm able to do this. And you gave this very nice example of Janmashtami or Ekadashi. It's like you said, it's detrimental. If your mood is, see, I'm doing such a austerity, I'm like greater than them, or I'm more advanced than them. He said, don't do it. It's like you'll not get any benediction, but it's like detrimental to your spiritual advancement. So he was encouraging not to do this. And needs also, renouncement, to see this as a result but not a process. And it's in Bhagavad Gita how it described from this when we unless we don't get this higher taste, we really can't renounce this lower gunas or lower modes of material nature. Even if we may try it for like 1 month, 2 months, like 1 year, but ultimately we will fall down if we don't get the taste. We have seen in many examples, like Vishwamitra Muni has such a great says he did austerities for many years, but when he saw Menka, he fell down. And also Savari Muni, just so many examples to teach us of just the mechanical renouncement, unless you get that higher taste, will not last longer. And Srila Prabhupada and Krishna is giving in Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita how to get real taste by serving the devotees. So many ways to get that taste.
Yeah.
Just to add that, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was nice. I mean, many times we hear this statement, fake it till you make it, but we should be careful with that statement.
For material, I think way, but in spiritual life, I think it's like duplicities.
Yes, so we should be careful with such statements. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, on the same topic. I'm trying to churn this topic because we can also observe that renunciation is also a tool that we can use to have more opportunity of service, to be more focused in our service. So take just an example, like it's time for prasadam, and actually you have this moment of, okay, am I quantity-wise satisfied or not? Should I take this gulab jamun that is looking at me since 5 minutes, and should I take it or not? And so we can observe that if we go over this limit of satisfaction, then afterward there will be some consequence in whatever way that will prevent us from devotional service, because we'll be sleepy, because we'll be sick, and so on. So it was interesting for me to hear about the fact that renunciation is also a consequence, a byproduct. But at this particular moment, it is also a tool to focus on more bhakti. So I heard that renunciation and bhakti, they go parallel line.
Yes.
So how to combine this with the fact that it's a consequence, as you explained also, just not understanding the
That's quite an interesting example that you gave, because yes, we need some sort of renunciation as well. So actually there's a very thin line of difference between austerity and renunciation. Because what is austerity and what is renunciation? Because many times, like for example, the 4 the vices that we go against, which is the vows that we take: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex. So these are technically austerity and renunciation at the same time, because we are renouncing meat. We're renouncing gambling. I don't know if it's renouncing, but So the basics for sure are required, because many times we might not even be in the right stage, we have not even purified ourselves enough, especially for example illicit sex. We are not even purified enough to be able to give it out, but because we take a vow, we are forcing ourselves to be able to follow that particular renunciation vow that we took. Actually, it's a vow of renunciation. So there is no actual real definition of where to draw the line, but that's why the fake it till you make it kind of a concept is good and bad both. It's for us to be able to make the judgment of how much, and that's why we have a spiritual master as well, which Raghunath Das Goswami is showing by example, because even with him being a renunciate of him trying to run away from stuff, Nityananda is still calling him a thief. End of the day, he's still telling him that go back to your worldly duties or perform this particular service, get the blessings. So he's still receiving different instructions. So I think the easiest way, or the only way by which we can understand where to draw the line or how much of renunciation to be able to endeavor is where we need the guidance of a spiritual master. That's why I feel bad for the Ritviks, many times they don't even get that opportunity. Because I know a god brother of mine who was in Dubai, and somehow his work allows him to be able to chant 64 rounds a day. And he's been doing that for many years. Like you can imagine, like a grahastha who has a job outside is chanting 64 rounds a day. So he went to my spiritual master and he asked, he's like, can I, instead of 16, can I take a vow of 64 rounds? And Maharaj immediately said, no, don't take a vow. You chant more, yes, but don't take such a vow of so much of renunciation, because we don't know how long we'll be able to do this. So that's why we need a guidance, because according to him, and he's been doing it, even till today, he's still doing it. He's and by Krishna's arrangement and by their mercy, even his wife is now chanting 32 rounds every day with 3 children. So as a couple, they're very exalted personalities. But again, that's why we need a spiritual master to be able to guide us on where to draw the renunciation line, where to draw the austerity line, because if we overdo it, then we might put ourselves in trouble. We might get the opposite effect, as Priyani Mataji was also explaining. So, yeah, I think, we need a spiritual master, because there is no rule for it. There is no...
in my opinion,
yes.
What is the purpose of doing the renunciation? We have to look for that also.
Yes.
If we do the renunciation and that helps us to create or to get some special qualities, divine qualities, then it's perfect. Like doing renunciation and simultaneously, if it makes us proud, then the goal is missing.
Right.
So I think whatever we do, the purpose is being obtained, then it's okay.
Right.
Our purpose is not being renunciated. Our purpose is being devotional to Lord Krishna. That's why there is a verse like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Seva lagi jaha hoy anukul Vishaya buliya teje ite mahabhul. Whatever that is favorable in the service of Krishna, if we just avoid it, and then it's for like, and it's a great mistake.
That's a nice principle. Yeah. That's Jai. So yes.
Yesterday, Shananda Prabhu was he was explaining the difference between penitence, austerity. The same line, follow up here.
Refresher.
Actually, it's a very thin line between all of these elements, especially austerity, penance. And then in the scriptures, you have penance, you have austerity, and you have renunciation. You have like all three, and all three actually mean different, they're not the same.
Penance, you said it's mostly focused on yourself, because you want to get something. Like for meditators, those who are yogi, they are like doing a lot of penitence, but the goal is to have mysterious, mystical powers. And austerity, it can be for us, but also for the Lord. And when this austerity is for the Lord, it becomes not an austerity, but a devotional service. So just explaining, and renouncement is like, in Krishna, renouncement is something not like whether doing or not doing, but which is good for our spiritual progress. If it's in the do nots, it's also a renouncement. If it's do's, it's also which we don't like chanting. I will not say this is austerity, but not in renouncement. But he was like really making this point, and I thought I understood a little bit, because most of the time these three for me were the same. And here austerity and renouncement, it's like really depends on to whom and to where we are directed, for which reason and purpose, just like Prabhu explained.
Right. Purpose is important. Yeah.
I got this experience while doing fasting in one good Purnima. So I was thinking, okay, I won't take anything today. And I was doing service, and due to my, I had so strong appetite, I was getting angry. I was getting angry to the devotees. Then I felt better to eat.
What did you eat?
Yeah.
What did you eat?
Oh, I took some fruits.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
thought the purpose would be attained.
many times it's described that during your fasting, you can have Charnamrit, a few drops. So you keep taking a few drops. So it's like breaking and not breaking at the same time. Alright. So thank you. In the future sessions, you will hear more about renunciation, more about Swarup Damodar as well, because he also exemplifies renunciation. So, thank you all. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai. Patita Pavana Prabhu ki Jai.
Ki Jai.